Hello, everybody. I'm going to take you all through the messy teenage years of your ecosystem. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and why they chose me to do this part of the session today. So this is my journey that I've taken through partnerships. I've been in partnerships for well over 20 years now. For the context of my discussion today, I'll be talking about my time at Marketo. So I spent 4.5 years at Marketo. I joined there in 2013. There are many Marketo alumni that were part of the partner program that are with me in the audience today. But when I joined Marketo, the interesting thing then, we were about, like I said, an $80 million company. They had just gone public. We reported into the marketing organization. They did have a technology partner program. They had no solution partner program. And when I was hired to be our liaison with Microsoft. The great thing is I think about 2 months after I joined to have this wonderful relationship with Microsoft and use the background that I had in my 13 years there, Microsoft bought a competing product. So all of a sudden, I still had that part of my job, but we were deciding to pivot a little bit. I created our partnerships with Google and Facebook and Twitter and eventually became the VP of the Solution Partner Program. In our journey then, about 6 months after I joined, they did put a formal partner program together. And by the time I exited 4.5 years later, there was about 20 of us that were in the partners organization. Fast forward to today, I am the Vice President of Partnerships at Amplitude. I had the pleasure of joining in 2020, the day that everything shut down in the United States. So it's been a very interesting journey, and thank you to Crossbeam. I got to meet one of my colleagues here at the conference for the first time. So of my team of 17, I have now met 4 people in person. So great times. But when I joined Amplitude, we were about a $70 million organization. In the 2 years that I've been there, we have created a formal partner program and rolled that out. The company itself went public, and my team is now at 17 people. So I've taken a couple companies through this journey of the messy teenage years. So with that, so I like to think of these messy teenage years as you're transitioning from junior high school into high school. So you're at that, like I said, that $50 to $75 million mark, and you're on your journey up to that $250 million mark. And I don't know about you, but I was pretty darn awkward in junior high. I right before graduation, had the pleasure of getting my contacts, my braces finally taken off, and my acne kind of in check. So when I was getting ready to go to high school, I was all about how do I reinvent myself? What is the next step? Where am I going to take this forward? And hence what I want to talk about today. What you did in high school. So to me, high school is kind of that transition point of that 50 to 75 million to 250 million. So I'm going to take you through a couple of examples. And with that, because I've been doing this for 20 years, you're going to get some mom advice. Now, I really like this photo because to me, when I looked at it, you can take it one of 2 ways. So first of all, you're going to think that I am wildly interesting and insightful, and you're just going to walk away like, wow, that was really great. The other way you could take this is this teenager is like, I don't know, been there, done that, I'm ready to walk out on you. So all I ask is don't walk out on me, please. You can look at your phone for the next 15 minutes. I'll be okay with that. So let's get into talking about growing a partner ecosystem. My first piece of advice for your teenage partnership growth is reinvent yourself or not. So you're at this stage now. You've probably at this point in your company's journey figured out how you're positioning yourself, what your customers want, but have you actually gone back and looked at your program and determined what actually your program needs to be for your customers? Have you looked at your ideal partner profile? Have you gone back in and readjusted it? So this is really the time to do that. And so you need to figure out if your company's value proposition for your customers changed. So I'm going to give you a little story about when I joined Amplitude. When I joined, the partner organization was very much still in startup mode, even though our company was at $80 million. We were being all things to all people. We definitely had a focus on our technology partners. But the reality was, looking at our customer base, we really needed to go out and educate our customer base. So for those of you who are not familiar with Amplitude, we are a product analytics company. We boomed during COVID mainly because we help people build better digital products. So now that everyone has shifted to using their phone or apps in order to interact with companies, really this was a great opportunity for us. But our sale really typically involves a lot of education. And so here we had this partner program that we were really focused on tech partners and not on solution partners. But in my mind, it's solution partners that are really the ones that are going to go out and be able to help us with this education process. And then beyond that, usually solution partners tend to have access to power, they're great evangelists, and they know the company's goals and objectives. So I made the decision after about 60 days of being at the company to shift about 75% of our resources to the solution partner side, mainly to be able to fuel our growth. And so, one of the other things that came along with that is we were being all things to all partners because we were still in this startup mode. And so we started to put together criteria of which partners we would collaborate with from a go-to-market perspective, which partners really we wanted to grow our business with, and who we had the strongest value prop with in order to go and tell some really use case-oriented stories. And so from there, we put together a value deck and started to chart out partners that we didn't have in our ecosystem that we wanted to bring in. And we did this both for our technology partner program and for our solution partner program. So through this whole thing, we started to reinvent where we were taking our journey so that we were in line with the growth goals of the overall organization. Our second piece of advice: the popular crowd isn't always the right click. So I am sure that many of you at this stage of your company have decided that you really, really, really need to partner with what I call the big friends: AWS, Google, Microsoft. Usually this is the time where people are like, I'm going to go all in with these folks. And I call them your big friends. They're the popular crowd. Like, you either want to be associated with them because that means you're kind of part of the cool crowd, or you think really your growth is going to come from these organizations. And this is really that time that you need to figure out who you are and whether you align with them and their goals. So as someone who spent the majority of their career at both AWS and Microsoft, I can say if your value prop doesn't align to their goals, this is going to be a really hard journey. And another story about this is many people who know me know that one of my favorite sayings is compensation drives behavior. Well, at Amplitude, we are compensated on referred business. Now, the business model of both AWS and of Microsoft really typically isn't to align and give you leads. Like, it's not by being part of this popular crowd, all of a sudden this door opens up and there's this magical lead room. Really what they're there is to help you with the influence motion. So unless you're selling something that is a bit more commodity type based, that you can sell through a distributor and maybe put yourself on the AWS marketplace, being part of this cool crowd might not be the right path for you. You might want to align to other folks, maybe the nerdy crowd that has some really cool technology that can open those doors for you and start to find you some referrals. When I got to Amplitude, we were leaning in. We were doing everything with AWS. And really, at the end of the day, we got some things out of it. But again, it was mainly an influence type motion. And so we've corrected ourselves. We are in the peripheral part of being with the cool clique. But in all honesty, we're putting our resources elsewhere to help us meet those goals that we have around referred business. Piece of advice number 3. Mom and dad mean well, but you might need to find your own way. And so what I mean by this is mom and dad, i.e. your C-suite, they typically have opinions on where they want you to focus your business and partnerships at this part of your growth stage. And the reality is you were hired because you know this business and you know it well. And you're the ones that are there should be giving them advice on how to grow their business. My thing is with mom and dad is you really have to put together a very data-driven approach with them. You probably, at this stage, are tracking a couple of different metrics. Maybe you were tracking, influence revenue and number of integrations with partners. But this is really the time where you should start to add additional goals and metrics to what you're tracking. And maybe you're not paid on them, and that's fine. But align those goals and metrics to what your business growth goals are, because it gives you a storyline to be able to go and to be able to talk to your C-suite in a very meaningful way and one that's very data-driven. One of the things that I like to do is put together a quarterly scorecard. And if you're not doing this already, I would highly suggest that you do this. Have it have metrics that align to all of your stakeholders in the business and the C-suite. Those metrics should be ones that you're able to talk to quarterly. In that quarterly newsletter, I would also put new partnerships that have been established, maybe key goals and objectives that you've established over the quarter, and just make sure you're sending that out at minimum at a quarterly basis. The other great thing that this does for you as well is you pretty much have your review written at the end of the year if you have these quarterly. So it's just a great reminder to the business of the contributions that you make. The other thing that this comes in handy for is, I don't know about you, but when I was in my high school years and I wanted something from mom and dad, instead of asking directly, it was always kind of this roundabout way and put in terms of, well, mom and dad, wouldn't it save you more time and possibly money in the long run if you bought me a car? And you bought me a car for the following reasons. It's an ask but don't ask type situation. It's the same thing you should be doing at this point with the C-suite. So typically at this point, I like to put things together and start to make my asks in the way that help them paint a vision, the art of the possible. So for example, we had a situation where I was asking for another headcount for a partner manager. And what we found was to ramp a partner manager took us about 3 months. But to ramp someone in sales was taking about 6 months. And I knew that this partner manager would align to 5 salespeople. And I was able to show them that the partner manager, through data, that the partner manager could actually help collapse the ramp time of the sales folks. And therefore, if we brought in one partner manager on the front end of bringing in these 5 salespeople, we would actually get more out of them a quarter earlier. And it changed the dynamic of the conversation from, you need another headcount, to, well, when can we post this role? So, talk to mom and dad in very meaningful ways, but do it in the way that's your own. Next piece of advice, good grades are key to your future. I touched upon this a little bit earlier, but a data-driven approach is really what's going to help you in the organization to grow. And really at this part, in this stage, especially at the early part of it, as you're starting to go on this teenage journey, is really when I would suggest that you put a 3-year plan in place. And so even if the business doesn't have a 3-year plan, this is really a great way for you to be able to determine where you need to go with your partnerships organization. And make sure that that 3-year plan, even if there's not data, make it up, start somewhere. It's difficult, I will tell you right now, it's difficult. But if you start at your 3-year mark and work your way backwards, not only does it help you figure out kind of where you need to go, what the resources you need on how to get there, but beyond that, you have a path and you have ways with which you can check the milestones of your program. When I got to Amplitude, what was really interesting in putting this 3-year plan together was the fact that we were paid on referred business, but we were actually paid on was referred sales qualified leads. We weren't actually being paid on closed revenue, which to me was a really odd thing. And my team is not wired this way at all. But theoretically, we could have met our goals just by creating opportunities that never closed. So what impact does that have to the business? And so through my 3-year plan that I put together, we have very lofty aspirations that we're going to take our partner program to produce 20% of the ARR for the company in the next 3 years. And I used that as the vehicle to be able to, again, work backwards and be able to show, number one, how we were going to transition our organization from being paid on these sales qualified leads to closed revenue. This also helped me show the team how that path was possible. But beyond that, it helped me to model out the resources that I need that are both quota carrying and not quota carrying for the business to, again, be able to show, okay, this goal of 20% that we need to get to, here's the path that we can do it, and here's what I need. So again, it wasn't me asking for a headcount. It was me showing how I contributed to the growth of the business. And it changed the conversation from being, you need what, to how do we accelerate it? And the beauty is my second year, we took the team, this is year 2, I took the team from 5 to now 17. So a really good way with which to be able to show your value and be able to have that growth plan in place. And make sure the metrics, your grades, again, span the whole business. You want all of your stakeholders to be included in this plan, and again, to be able to get that buy-in from multiple areas of the business. And the thing is us as partnership folks, it's always interesting to me because I know the perception of many folks out in the world is that we just go and have lunch and we talk and we do all these things. And and the reality is we know every aspect of the business. We are talking with the success team, we are talking with sales, we are talking with marketing, and we have all of these allies out there to really help us. But oftentimes I think we feel like we're on an island. So use those allies to help you to be able to get what you need in order to grow your partner organization. My next piece of advice is reputation, reputation, reputation. So tech is a small community. Trust me, I've been doing this for a really long time. And partnerships is even smaller. Like I look out in this audience today and see many faces that I've known and people that I've known for many years. And I hope that those of you that I don't know, I'll have an opportunity to meet over the next 24 hours and you'll become part of my network. But as you're at this stage of your company's growth, this is really when these relationships that you formed in the partnerships community become really, really important. And so it's very important through your whole journey that you do what you say, you're straightforward, and you're always following through. And so you're gonna wanna network at this stage. I mean, I can't tell you at this stage, the last 2 years, how many folks that I have called upon and asked favors from and done introductions, and then followed up with, hey, when you're at this stage, I'll do the same thing for you. And I've done those things over the years. But this is really when we need to come together as a community to help each other to grow this stage, and your reputation means everything. The other thing that takes place usually at this stage, which is the harder part, is there's gonna be some partnerships that you're gonna have to put on the back burner. And being direct and having that hard conversation is something that none of us likes to do. But at this stage, I always find that if you're upfront and you put it in the terms of the business relationship with folks and not the personal relationship with folks, they often understand. And this could be the same thing with team members. There could be team members that are on your team that just aren't ready for that next stage as well. And again, doing it in a kind but straightforward way, I think it is what's gonna help you in the long term. With that, the last piece of advice here of our Teenage Partner Program, graduation means new beginnings again. So you've just heard about the reinvention. You're now at graduation time. You have made it through your messy teenage years. You are ready to go to college. And guess what? You get to start all over. So with that, I'm going to end my presentation, and Maureen's going to take you through the next phase of how to grow your partner organization. So thank you all.